Welcome back everyone to our Essentials of Care and Welfare webinar. So just to reiterate, this is a part of a webinar series. Part 1 took place 2 weeks ago and is available as a recording. And I will say that topics covered today will be easier to understand if you've already watched the first part of this series. Today, we'll be focusing on creating templates in care and welfare. And in the final session, we'll be focusing on using templates to enter your care and welfare data, where you can find this data within ZIMS and what this might look like over time. So for anyone who hasn't joined previously, the aim each week is to provide a live demonstration of the feature in use. And again, we'll set aside time after for Q&A. So to recap, care and welfare is a module in ZIMS, and its main purpose is to standardize how you track care and welfare for animals in your collection. This is achieved by creating indicators which set the definitions and scale for the welfare observations you want to record. And then templates are used to compile the indicators into one area ready for data entry. And that's what we'll focus on today. So I'll switch over to ZIMS now, and we can see what it looks like to create a template in care and welfare. From the ZIMS homepage, you can access the care and welfare module by heading to the Start menu, up to Animals, and by opening care and welfare. And when you open care and welfare, you will be met with the templates screen. As you can see, I already have a few templates created. But what we focused on last week were the indicators. So if I switch to the indicators screen, this is what we focused on last week. So this is where you set the definitions and the scales for the type of welfare observations you want to make. And now this week we'll be taking these indicators that have been created and configured and applying them to a template. So if I show you what one of these templates looks like, I can click on them to open them up. And what a template essentially looks like is animals are down the left-hand side that you're recording observations for. And along the top here are the indicators that you're making observations about. So that is essentially what a template will look like once you've created one. You can filter your templates by name if you want to search for very specific templates. You can start typing ahead in this top field here to filter them by name. You can filter by who created the template, and you can even search by local animal. So if you know the name of an animal that's at your institution or a local ID, you can find it in the list and see which templates are relevant for that animal and where data can be recorded for that animal. You can also access the care and welfare templates from the husbandry module. So if you were in an animal's record and wanted to see templates relevant to this particular animal, you can simply click the care and welfare logo and you'll be brought to the templates page and see all the relevant templates for that animal. So we have a few created already, but I will show you step by step what it looks like to create a template from scratch. So if you go up to the top left-hand corner and click this green plus icon, you'll initially see this list of shared templates. And these are templates that have been shared by other institutions. And we'll come back to this in a moment. We're going to focus on creating our own template to begin with. So I'll click Add New. And here you have all the fields to get started creating your template. So first you will add a name. Obviously the name is ultimately determined by what animals you're assigning to this template and what indicators you assign to this template. But for this example, I'm going to call it bird section A and call it health checkup. Now, as I move across to the right-hand side, I can see the option to share this template with other institutions. I'll come back to this in a moment. I also have the option to just share this template. And if I do that, the template will now be visible to other users at your institution, and they can see and use your template. I also have the option to make it editable by others, and if I tick that box, then other members of your institution will be able to edit the template, but they will not be able to change sharing or editable rights. So again, this is completely up to you whether you want other people to be able to edit it. You can untick it if you don't want other users at your institution to edit your template. And sharing this template simply allows other users to record their observations on this template. So once you've set up the name and what level of sharing you want to apply, you can start adding animals to your template. So to begin with, you could start by adding individual animals if you know their local IDs. You can simply type them into here and add as many animals as you need to this template. Alternatively, if you want to add a large group of animals all at once, you can select an animal list. So these are animal lists that you manage from the husbandry module. So if I click here now, I can select animal lists that are already created at this institution. And I can add another. So I could add the hornbill team, but I could also add the passerine team to this as well. If you don't use animal lists so frequently, you might prefer to use enclosures to assign the animals. If you select enclosure to assign animals, you simply type in the enclosure code. And now any animals that live within this enclosure will be assigned to this template. I can add multiple enclosures simply by clicking the add another, and you can add another line to the template. So when you are adding enclosures, any animals currently in the enclosure will show in the template. And this can be really useful if your animals move areas frequently, but your staff still service the same enclosures. But it is also worth mentioning that if you are adding enclosures, it is adding all of the animals. So if you have a mixed species exhibit, for example, if B03 had an armadillo living alongside the birds in that enclosure, the armadillo will also be added to this template. So on the bird section A doing a bird health check, that might not be very relevant. How you assign animals will vary time to time. And finally, you can assign animals by taxonomy. You can add single species, so I would be able to add, for example, Sumatran laughing thrush to this, but the taxonomy field is restricted and it won't let you go any higher than family rank. So if I try to add anything as high as order, then I'll be met with this notification that tells me I can't add passerines, but I could add taxonomy as high as family. So in this example, you would just go down to the next available rank, and you might add something like that. And you can add multiple taxonomies as well. The last field that you can see is unassigned, and at the minute that isn't available. This only becomes available once you share this template with other institutions. If I were to tick this box and make this template available globally with other institutions, you'll notice the first three options are no longer applicable. And that's because this is local data. So your individual animals, your animal lists, and your enclosures are all locally stored data, whereas taxonomy can be shared globally and is all the different institutions are using the same taxonomy levels. You could simply tick unassigned. If you didn't want to assign this template to any taxonomy, if it was a really generic template, then you might just leave it unassigned. But for this example, we won't share it with other institutions, and we'll assign the animals by enclosure. So I'll just add a couple of enclosures. So what we currently have set up is a template for bird section A for a health checkup. The template is shared with other users at your institution, and animals from these 3 enclosures will be included in the template. Now we can select the identifiers that will show on the template. So as it's birds, I might add in their band number. Because there are multiple species potentially on this template, I'm going to include the species common name, and I'm going to include the local ID as well. So now these 3 types of identifiers will show on the template, so you know which animals you're making recordings for. And finally, the most important part is the indicators that you're going to apply to this template. So it's a type ahead field. If you want to type ahead, you can to find your relevant indicators. So I can add animal weights. And as this is a health checkup one, I will be adding physical health related indicators. So I'll add body condition score, I'll add health status, and I will add feather condition. And next to each of these indicators, you can see little logos. So next to health status, it says global. So this is an indicator that was created by Species 360 that's been configured. We have a local one that's been created by this institution. And we also have shared ones that we've accepted as shared indicators, or we've accepted a shared template. I can then drag and drop, move these indicators around, and this will affect how they display on the template when you go to add your data. If we had another category in there, if I put external impacts on there, we would have another box and you would be able to drag and drop and change them around. And I can also remove indicators by clicking the little cross button there. When you go to save, you have the option to add another template. So I could click add another template with the same animals. When I click save, it would clear the indicators and I would add a new name, but it would keep the same animals assigned. And I could choose different indicators to create another template. Or I could keep these indicators and change the enclosure assignments, and maybe I'll change that to the next 3 enclosures and change the name of the template. But for this example, I'll just click save. And now we can view the template that we created. It's been added to the list here. And we can see from these 3 different enclosures that a few different species of birds have all been added into this template. And now we can record body condition score, weights, health status, and feather condition all in one area. So if you created a template and you find it works well for you and you want to share it at a later date, and maybe when you were creating that template, you didn't share it globally with other institutions and you change your mind and you do want to share it, you can edit at a later date. So in this example, we have a more specific health checkup for laughing thrushes that includes a pectoral muscle score and a subcutaneous fat score. And we want to make this available to other institutions. We can click on edit and we can click share this template with other institutions. This is possible because we've got it set to taxonomy, but we could also make it unassigned if we wanted to make it available for a variety of species. But in this example, it's a bit more specific and we want it to be limited for laughing thrushes. If I click save, you can now see that the option to edit that template has been removed. That's because it's globally shared, but you still have the option to clone this and then edit the cloned version, which we might cover in just a moment as well. So now we have created a template from scratch. We have shared a template with other institutions. We can look at how we accept shared templates from other institutions. If you head to the green plus icon here again, we have this list of shared templates from other institutions. And you can see for some of them, they have associated taxonomy. And for some, the taxonomy area is blank. And that means that that template is technically unassigned. So to begin with, I'll accept a template that has associated taxonomy. So I can click Add Local Template. And then I can close this box. And I have accepted this shared template called AVIs, referring to animal visitor interactions. So when I look at this template, I can see that it's been assigned to a variety of taxa, but I don't have all of these species at my institution. I only have red pandas at my institution, and therefore all I can make recordings for are the species that I have. We'll come back to how you can edit this in just a moment. That is what a shared template looks like. You can just access it from your local templates. But when you accept a shared template, you also accept its indicators. So if I head to the indicators page and search for indicators created by Wellington, because that's who created the globally shared template, I can see their indicators. And if I try to edit those indicators, I won't have access to make any edits apart from assigning an expected value for my institution. So if I click on any of those, you can set expected ranges and add taxonomic exceptions, but you can't change the name or the description or the value type of that indicator. So I'll head back to templates. So for this template that I have accepted that has taxonomy assigned, I don't have the option to edit it, but I can clone it. And when I click clone, I am able to add a new name and assign new animals. So at this institution, maybe we want to record these indicators, but we didn't have the same species as that other institution. So I can rename the template to animal visitor interactions. I want to assign it now to taxonomy that my institution holds and animals that we use in animal visitor interactions. Perhaps we do animal visitor interactions for our red panda, and we do it for our ring-tailed lemurs. We can assign those as a taxonomy. We can update the identifiers that are visible. And if we have any other indicators that we want to add into this template, we can do that here. So maybe you've created your own indicators relevant to animal visitor interactions. And now you can click save, and you have a brand new template that was based off of the one that was globally shared. If you have accepted shared templates and you decide at a later date that they aren't useful to you, you can unaccept them here. And that is a different option to remove. So you can remove your local templates, but for something that was shared globally, you're just unaccepting the template. So next I'll show you how it looks different if you're accepting a template that doesn't have taxonomy assigned. So in this example for fecal scoring, there's no associated taxonomy. So if I add that into my local templates, it comes straight up with a screen to make edits to this. I'll call this fecal score for ringtail lemurs. I can assign the taxonomy, add in relevant identifiers. I want to keep all of the indicators exactly the same. And then I can simply click Save and close this. And now I can see my template that I've just accepted. And now I'm able to make these observations in a similar way to the institution that shared it. So the templates that I've focused on have been bird focused and mammal focused, but I do want to reiterate that care and welfare can be used for a wide range of species, but you'll just be making slightly different observations. So we have templates created for snakes where you might just be recording information on activity level or whether they're basking, if they've had any external disturbances or their feeding behavior. All of these are decided by the indicators that you created previously. And again, we have examples for aquarium species. So octopus, you might want to assess their skin color, their health status, stereotypical behaviors, and feeding. Again, I just wanted to reiterate, this isn't just for mammals and birds. This can be really useful information for a wide range of taxa. It's completely up to you to create the indicators that work for you and then apply them to templates that work for your staff. We definitely encourage you to all have a go in Learn ZIMS and start practicing and playing with indicators and templates, figure out what works well and what doesn't as a way to record various aspects of welfare. Next week, we'll focus on what it looks like to start adding data into these templates, where this data is viewable in ZIMS, and what this looks like when you start to export it into graphs and if you want to export it to Excel. So it's definitely worth coming along next time to see that. And I just want to say thanks again for joining this week.